can. But we'll just go ahead and get started now, since we have at least a quorum. I'm waiting for a couple other. Here's Angel. I can bring her in now, and that should be it. So the cohort will soon be all together, and then hopefully Michael will pop in shortly. So, folks, I just wanted to preface this session with a couple of remarks. When Neil Davis and I were creating the curriculum for this year, we really were thinking about developing a deductive process, right? That start with the real broad and just kind of slowly but surely work your way to a narrow. And so, with the opening ceremony and sort of like the large philosophical approach, and then we went right into the customer discovery process, the I-Core customer discovery. And the whole objective there was to use that process to, validate your business hypothesis, like prove it or pivot. And we're at that prove it or pivot point here with the session entering our week 8. We also did a broad look at integrating the pitch creator and making sure that we're working on, your pitch and all of that. And then, of course, with Dion Joyner-Weems's panel, really talked about how to intentionally engage with the community as we're learning about customer and learning about your own business hypothesis. And so after that, we purposefully narrowed back into the concept of strategic partnerships. We talked about the importance of developing strategic partnerships in the public sector. We talked about how to maintain them, and then we talked about how to formalize them in contracting with the government. We had Bill Chin in doing that. And from there, we moved even deeper into accounting principles, and then finally working capital questions in the public sector. So we've really kind of done a lot in terms of arriving at ready for today. And so I wanted to bring that into context because we have today Chichi Nyaga-Nash and Mike Freed when he comes back in. Chichi is the Director of General Services for Baltimore City. And Mike is the Chief Information Officer for Baltimore City Health Department. And so in preparing for this conversation, Chichi and I discussed each one of your business models. I did the same thing with Mike Freed. I think Chichi probably took a minute or two looking it up and sort of thinking about how to, what relationships or things of that nature can happen. And so far it's been, very much a sort of panel-driven kind of approach. Today it's not that. Today we have an opportunity to just talk to Chichi about, what might be on your mind relative to getting involved with the city. And so I'll preface this, or should I say just kick it off with something I learned long ago. A guy told me, and I'm passing it along. If you haven't heard it, there's the most important question that you can possibly prepare for. Is one single question, especially when it comes to government, but not just government. And that is, so, Patrick, what can I do for you? And the what can I do for you question sets the tone for the nature of your relationship with that individual. And, I learned in walking the halls of Congress, I thought I could go there and raise money. I didn't know that I had to be attached to a bill in order to get money out of Congress. I went up there asking congressmen for donations for a program. It was like they were looking at me like I was crazy. I didn't know what to ask for. I didn't know how to ask for it. And I wasn't prepared for the question, what can I do for you? In fact, a couple of times I even asked for a letter of reference so that I could, show people that I met you, as opposed to saying, hey, can you write me into this bill with a $50 million contract over the next 5 years, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So knowing what to ask for, being prepared for that question is an important thing. So I want to start as broad as I can, and just to sort of make this less about me and more about you. So I'm going to start with you, Mohammed. Over the weekend or last week, Chichi and I were talking about your business, and she said something really interesting. Like, I had to write it down. It's like, do you think they would be interested in using a public school? I mean, for an event space? Like, oh my God. So I know, Mohammed, you've been talking and thinking a lot about space and accommodations and relationships with the city. Why don't we start out with you, and perhaps Chichi, why don't you kick us off by just telling us a little about your own sort of department, where you're at, and then sort of take that into your thoughts about Full Blast Steam.
Well, I'll reserve any thoughts on Full Blast Steam until I've heard from Patrick. Mute?
No, you're on. You're fine.
Patrick can't hear me for some reason.
No. It's actually with Mohammed Najee. Full Blast is with FBS, who's waiting.
Right.
So anyways, whenever you get,
Patrick,
go ahead. We'll get to that.
Okay. So thank you very much, first off, John, for having me join this group. I'm excited, especially after the conversation that you and I had last week, where you gave me a brief summary of all the projects and initiatives and just how much passion there is coming from the people on the screen in front of me. It's really exciting to have this chance to have a conversation with you and see if there really is a way that, if there's an answer you have to how can I help you. I can commit to you now that if there is any way at all I can help, whether it's just thought exercise or any other material way, you have it, because your projects are all very, very inspiring. So as John said, I am the director of the city's Department of General Services. And I don't expect people to go, oh, really? Because no one really knows who AWS is or what we do. we are, I like to think of us as really, truly the skeleton, the backbone of the city, because we're hidden. There's all the meat around us is all the other agencies that you know of, the fire department, DOT, DPW. But without DGS, they would not be able to function. So what we're responsible for is the city's fleet of about 4,500 vehicles. So every vehicle that you see on the street, a fire truck, a trash, a refuse collection truck, a police car, all those are owned and managed and maintained by DGS. We're also responsible for a vast majority of the city's buildings. And so firehouses, police stations, City Hall, which is a gorgeous architectural gem involved. If you ever get a chance to read into the history of City Hall, do. It's a fascinating history. And then we're also responsible for the capital improvement and capital capital projects to keep all those assets functional. We most recently acquired back the energy office from the Department of General Services, so we're also responsible for the power purchase agreements for all the power that the city consumes, as well as working closely with the Planning Department's Office of Sustainability to be able to move forward in trying to get to a less carbon reliance in whether it's the fuel that we have in our vehicles or the type of power that we're purchasing to run the Back River Water Treatment Plant or any of our buildings. So that's why I say we truly are the skeleton. We are holding up the other agencies, and it's a joy to be able to work in the background and just know that everything that we're doing has an impact. So that's work. Outside of work, I'm involved in a couple of nonprofits. One is Friends of Great Kids Farm, which is a small 30-acre farm owned by the Baltimore school system, but it's actually located in Catonsville. But it's a functional farm, fully under production, and is tied into the school curriculum for both STEM and ag. So that's a very, very cool organization to be associated with. I'm also on the advisory board of Business Volunteers Maryland, so I get an opportunity to interact with a lot of other very passionate nonprofit leaders in the area, and to learn that opportunity. Being on that board has opened my eyes up in ways I couldn't ever have imagined could have, about not just, and I think this is where people don't take that extra step, but in learning not just what the city needs, because ending there is only half the issue, but learning who is in the space trying to solve those problems and how we can help them. So that's been a great opportunity for me. That's who I am, and I am really excited to hear from you all and see where we can connect and help each other.
Excellent. So let's let you, Mohammed, kick it off, just to sort of begin that conversation around space and any other thing that you might have in mind.
Greetings, Chichi. Thank you for meeting with us. Yes, definitely. Us utilizing the space at a city school has been something that we've been doing that off and on via different partners like Child First or Holistic Life Foundation and others. But to really maximize the benefit of some of the technologies, to be able to set up long term or semi-permanently, to really outfit a space, to create a smart space, and really see what these technologies can do. A lot of times having these conversations with folks, you depend on them having to understand not only the technology, but the interplay of technologies or multiple technologies. And that's not the case. Folks aren't necessarily tuned in to be able to understand how things could be used. So to create a space where you could showcase for both research purposes as well as to educate young people to create a STEM or STEAM experience in a given location as a pilot, so to speak, for what could be done. That's one piece. Another piece is creating germicidal safe environments for education to take place. Is obviously a need for all of the buildings in the city, just for work and safe operations moving into this winter. So we have a few products that we are developing that utilize ultraviolet light to create germicidal environments, to upgrade HVAC system, as well as the common areas in a space. So as well, a pilot to launch that program to show what that can do for the city is something else that we like to have further conversations with you about.
The timing for your bringing that up is very good timing, because we are starting to engage in conversations with vendors about that, about the induct UV technology along with the deionization. So now is absolutely the time to be having that conversation. So yeah, let's have a sidebar about that. So are you saying that you are offering that as a service?
Absolutely, as a service, and we'd like the city, as we're partnered with Morgan State right now in doing further research on existing UV technologies, and in doing so, creating a better application for that UV to harness that power of UV, specifically for this COVID challenge that we're dealing with. A lot of other UV related products, they're old, they're focused on fungus and mold and spores, things that a HEPA filter can now solve pretty much. But specifically for COVID, that's a different ballgame. So we've done a lot of the research. We've spent a lot of money on quality equipment to test UV sources. So we're ready to kick it up a notch and see how we can apply this across where the need is. Our first responders, nursing homes, city schools, so forth and so on. Yeah, it's an untapped tool, and
absolutely
we're ready to apply it. Yes.
This is wonderful timing. Let's definitely connect. Talk more about that. I'm particularly interested in hearing about the research with Morgan. Because one of the conversations I was having with our facilities chief recently is that even if we do install this UV technology in one of our buildings, we'd be using it as proof of concept to see if it really does work. But then how do you even measure that it worked unless you have the technology to do the testing, but have a baseline level of whatever the contaminants in the air, and then be able to test it afterwards. So I would very much like to hear about your research findings.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Great. Fantastic. So if we can go back to the use of the school. So you say you've used schools as what, like a pop-up event center, or how have you used them in the past?
Exactly. So pre-COVID, we would send tech coaches out to a school, like for instance, Robert C. Coleman, City Springs Elementary, and others all around the city, to engage a group of 20 young people with various educational technologies. So we have different tracks: a robotics track, drones, 3D printing, virtual reality, and coding, computer programming. So we have these activities, and we would have to make things mobile. So our next step was to get trucks and really beef up the operation and serve more clients and do more birthday parties and more larger events. A lot of times, after the 6 weeks or 10-week program is over, there's a culminating event, right? So we would break out a robot obstacle course or a drone cage and allow the kids to put to use the skills that they learn over the course of that 6-week period in a competition. Ideally, we would like to have a larger venue space that they could always test those skills and make this a sport, something that's done all the time. Right now, the VEX competitions that the city has brought into, the robotics competitions, they have a place. They can only serve a limited amount of young people. And if we're really talking about, bridging this tech divide, then we need to scale up the amount of kids and communities that we're touching. So
approximately how many square feet do you think you would need for your vision to come to reality?
36,000, the size of a school. I look at an ideal location is like the Target, the old Target at Mondawmin Space. The high ceiling.
We were talking about that. Yeah.
We were talking about that exact
We were just
space.
talking about that.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to have a loading dock. You have to have access to a parking lot. Just to be able to serve the amount of crowds that family entertainment centers are known to be able to serve. Mm-hmm. There's always lines, at a family entertainment center, always.
And you just need one big open space.
Yes, that would be awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of build out has to happen. So yes, a big space would be best. Yeah, another one is the old Baltimore Sun building. What's this on?
Yeah.
So that's not city owned. That's owned by Tapco Properties. The city's just leasing some space for BPD and other operations. But you're right. Yeah, even just the basement level alone in that is massive. But this helps me get my thinking cap on, and I already have some thoughts on potential spaces, and just to give everyone else time, we can circle around. But I think if we connect, we can bounce some ideas off each other on spaces. And then we just need to find a solution for the funding of retrofitting the space. But space is abundant if you have money to do something with it.
Right. Mm-hmm. We came up with a few, revenue generating solutions. So we're looking at being able to pay back a lender. We're not a nonprofit. We have.
We're going to find the money.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
We're going to find the money. Mm-hmm.
I think there's good opportunity here for a partnership with the city, at least space-wise.
So let's move on to, thank you, both of you for that. Nika, wasn't it, I think, Chi-Chi, didn't you say there was an event you were actually going to be attending this weekend?
I didn't make it out to it, but Nika, I came across your hood hikes somewhere. I don't know where. And so I have had them on my calendar for several Sundays, but something always comes up, and yesterday was one that I intended to attend but couldn't. It would have been nice to meet you in person before today.
Oh, no problem. Can you all hear me?
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
So actually, I'm glad that it wasn't on your schedule yesterday because it is actually the 15th of November. So it is the third Sunday.
Oh, well, thank you. All right.
of this month. So yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So I just hopped on. I'm assuming that we're doing round robins and just talking about what our projects are right now. Okay, cool.
And you know what might be is something that you could use as a partner with the city, and that Chi-Chi can try to help think through how data, relationships, access to people, things of that nature. Go ahead.
Cool. So two or several things that we're kind of working on. One, obviously, the focus of the Accelerate Baltimore cohort is our work surrounding a mobile app that will enable people to track, report, analyze data on blighted properties, because frankly, 311 is not effective at doing that in the way that it's currently configured. So in that regard, access to the city's data or the state's data surrounding property would be something that we definitely need to be in partnership with the city and the state in order to get. Now, some of the data is available via open API, so it might not be a heavy lift on the city or state side, but there are other pieces of data that are a little bit more challenging to get. For example, the city doesn't have a data store, to my understanding, of tax sale foreclosures. So when we're trying to determine where in the city people have lost their homes as a result of tax sale, to explode that on a map, to map it out so we can see if what we posit about tax sale is true, there's no data. Now, granted, those foreclosures are handled through the circuit court, but the fact that there's no feedback from the circuit court to the city, when it is the city's tax sale that is putting people into foreclosure, is an example of the challenges we're facing dealing with the data.
Okay, so if we can just jump back just a few seconds. So you said that 311 isn't the solution that's needed because it's lacking in something. What does 311 not have that you're trying to insert? So
number one, so probably the key example for residents is I have put in probably hundreds of 311 requests at this point. The city typically will close those requests, but nothing has been done. And so what I understand is that because that's 311 is basically an iteration of Salesforce, that it is configured backward facing, meaning that the tickets are closed because another ticket may have been opened. But as a citizen, I don't know that. And frankly, I don't care. I just want to know that that pothole or that vacant building with the bricks falling down is being addressed. So to me, as a resident, when I see that I put in a request to have, a building hazard addressed and it's closed, but the hazard still persists, then two things happen. Either typically people stop reporting because they like, what am I wasting my time for? Or they dig in and they find out, and that's a much smaller number, how 311 actually works. But even still, 3 years after finding it out, I still find that to be completely problematic. And because the city doesn't engage with its residents well, my response was to create an app that would function in a way that makes sense for people in community.
Okay. So in addition to tax sale data, what other layers of data would you be trying to make accessible? And sorry, I don't have too much knowledge of the app. Would the information be coming from both sides, citizen input and the data coming from the city?
Absolutely. So there would be citizen input that citizens are going in and putting in data about the condition of properties, particular hazards. That would be combined with data regarding who owns the properties, data regarding, let's see, what kind of zone the property might be in, whether it's an opportunity zone or enterprise zone. So different, so it would be, yes, a mix of crowdsourced data and municipal, and even some private data stores, because we know that MLS, which is the data store that is used by realtors for property sales, they have data that would be important to the work that we're doing as well.
So some of the information that you just referred to, like the zoning maps and where the opportunity zones are, is that information that you're finding easy to get from the city, or has that been a struggle as well?
So I would say that some of the data is available via open data, right? Some of the data is available.
Is it current though?
Is it current? There are a number of issues. Is it current? Does it work well on mobile devices? Is it intuitive in terms of using? I'm a systems engineer by trade. I work on software and systems all the time. And some of the systems that the city has in terms of data don't work well. They're not intuitive for me, right? And then the second piece is it's all over the place. I got to go to City View. I got to go to Econ View. I got to go to CodeMet. I got to go to BINA. I got to go to SDAT. I got to go 11 places. I got to go to 311. I have to go all of these places to try to get a single picture of what is going on with a particular property or particular community. And that's just too much.
So it looks like Mike hopped on for a second, and I was hoping he would stay because this would have been the perfect place for him to add in. So I do know that one of the recent additions to the Baltimore City IT department has been someone whose role it is to take a look at all the various databases and data storage and try and integrate it into like one place for ease of access. Right. I'm not going to use the right terminology because I'm not a techie, so that's why I was hoping Mike would be here. But is that a position that you knew existed? And if you were connected with that individual, do you think this could help you if you were able to advocate for the types of information that we know the community is hankering for now and help them prioritize?
So if by the position you mean some of the folks in the office for performance and innovation, I had met with them and engaged with them, and some of their dashboards are reflective of some of the things that were said in our meeting. I would definitely be open to engaging with the city.
Okay. No, I was not referring to Office of Performance and Innovation, even though that is a great group of people to be having this conversation with. I'm talking about just go right to the source, which is the Baltimore City IT department. Because any data that any city agency is using, they're trying to, again, centralize and warehouse in one place just for this exact reason. So you don't have to go to 10 different sites in order to get data that just happens to be housed on various city servers. Right. And warehouse them together. So if you and I can have a conversation after this, I would like to hear who in OPI you've been working with, and then maybe see if we can make some connections directly into BSIT.
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's excellent. So let's see. Wait
a minute, John, can I make one other point?
Absolutely. Please do.
So there's two other things that I'm working on, but that I wanted to bring, one of which I wanted to bring up here was that we actually have a space that we're developing in order to be a youth-focused and community-centered incubation, innovation, and imagination space. And so we are having a challenge because one of the pieces of property that we own that we're going to use to redevelop in that space was purchased through the side lot program with the city. In the land distribution agreement for the side lot purchase, it says that we can't build on that lot for 10 years. Now, I don't know why the city would rather take $70 from me in property taxes per year versus $7,000 when this building is renovated. But that is what we're being told that we may be faced with, that we may not be able to redevelop these two properties because of that land, that clause in the land distribution agreement or disposition agreement. And I bring that up, one, because it isn't impacting my project, but bigger than impacting my project is the fact that we have elders in community who may be able to age in space in their home if they were able to build on the lots that they had acquired via the side lot program, but they aren't able to do that because
that same restriction.
Because of that same restriction, and they're not able, in all honesty, navigating that whole piece of development, but specifically surrounding the side lot program and the removal of that clause is problematic. And so I just wanted to kind of bring that up because that is something that I've started talking to the planning department about. I've spoken to Jason Hessler, who is one of the city solicitors, or I think is
he is a lawyer by trade, but he is in charge of permits and enforcement and zoning. No, not zoning, permits and enforcement.
Right, something, yeah, in HD. But I've been trying to say that I've kind of started socializing the idea that that clause in the agreement is not equitable, and we should take a look at it.
Okay. Does the name Yolanda Jiggets ring any bells for you?
No, it does not.
Okay. She is with Park Heights Renaissance. She's the director there now, but she used to be with Housing and Community Development in their, I can't remember the exact name of it, but the office that has vacants to value.
Okay.
If you want, I can make that connection for you so that you can talk to her about it, and she might have some better ideas on how to navigate from the inside to get better traction on this.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Great questions. So let's see who we go to next. Nancy, you're up.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. The last thing you said before we jumped into a collective conversation was the thing we want to know is who is the person trying to solve the problem that we're working to solve. So as it relates to city government, we are Sankofa Community Network, and we have a two-prong.
No, I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah,
somebody left
good.
and I
I'm here.
You're good.
lost my screen. Okay. So we are providing applications and suites for virtual healthcare, telehealth, telemedicine, and for the low-income community. And so based on your counsel, the first thing I need to know is who in city government is trying to solve the problem or provide the city service of telehealth, telemedicine, and even applications that are set up to connect people to either the locations or the physicians offering that care. We are also developing an app which will monitor chronic conditions, diabetes, we call it high blood pressure, asthma. These are the conditions that are most prevalent in our community, and yet there aren't applications set up to track them so that there is, how you say, live real-time data to physicians to let the patient know and the doctor know that this guy's in trouble. He needs to do this. He needs, some preventative action needs to be taken and can be taken.
I am sitting here racking my brain because pre-COVID, I feel like life is pre-COVID and during COVID, I met an individual who was working on a project to create an app that would better allow doctors and patients, especially low-income patients, to be able to have that relationship and be able to track chronic conditions in real time. And there was a component related to building trust between the medical professional and the individual using the app, so that they would be more willing to share, even without having to come in for a doctor's visit, just share any issues that they're having so that the doctor would have a chance to intervene. And I hope it comes to me, Nancy, because I feel like they were on a similar, not same, but similar track to what you're on.
Gotcha. So so there are other, what you're telling me is on a competitive matrix, there are other people interested
A
in solving
similar
that
problem,
similar
yes, but
problem.
they may be a bit farther along and be able to offer some guidance. I'm not necessarily saying that they are a competitor, because it doesn't sound like the exact same model, but and they were tied into. I will remember it, Nancy, and share it with you. And if anything comes of it, then it does. But that just made me think of this individual describing that initiative.
Okay, so ultimately, what I'm looking for is
Okay.
who in city government we petition with,
Okay.
with that kind of.
And I wish Mike was here.
I know. I was going to say the same thing. I think I've been communicating with him via text, and I think there's a power issue happening at his house, and so that maybe, I don't know if it's the wind or something going on, but anyway, it's a technical issue that's happening for him, and so I will schedule a separate meeting with the cohort and Mike, because he is definitely one of those people like you that I really want this team to be able to meet and discuss and ask questions for. So it looks like we'll just reschedule Mike and and do what we can. So with you today,
Nancy, Mike would have been the best person for you to talk to, because he is with the health department, so he would have been able to tell you what division of the health department would be the most meaningful for you to start your inquiries with. I know that they have teams of health workers that go out into the community and do home visits. I don't know if that would, if that ties in at all. When I was looking at your website, I also thought about whether there's any need to connect with the libraries because of their initiative of the roving Wi-Fi. So they go around to different communities and blast out Wi-Fi. Health and the libraries were the first two that came to mind. Obviously, health for obvious reasons, and library for accessibility.
good deal.
Okay.
So Angel, you're up next.
Hi, Chi-Chi. Thank you again for your time. I have a couple of questions, and I'll try to kind of keep them into a few buckets. So the first one is really kind of picking up on Nika's conversation about data, and wondering if there is a way to get access to city administrative data, where you can understand like some of the city's activities and I guess impact of city work.
And this is equity in action, right?
Right.
The scorecard? Okay. What type of administrative data would you be looking at for?
So I like purchasing, for example, what kinds of companies the city is procuring services with, contract, amounts and, MBE, MWE data, for example.
I don't know how it's obviously all public information, so it would just be about how readily available it is and how it's been warehoused to be able to share it with the public. But there's a plethora of that information. Like, I have it at my fingertips now. If I pulled up the City by website, I could tell you all the vendors who we've purchased fencing from. So it exists. it gets down to the length of contract, how much money we've spent with them. Information on WBE, MBE, and other minority goal setting resides with the Office of Minority Women-Owned Business, the Mayor's Office of Minority-Owned Business, which is a part of the Comptroller's Office, or legal, part of the legal department. And so they would be the only ones. So not even finance would have access to that information about MBE, WBEs. You'd have to go directly to that office. I don't know what prompted this, but I know that Councilman Henry just in recent months introduced a bill for agencies to start tracking employee-owned businesses and the business that we're doing with them. So not businesses owned by city employees, but businesses owned by the employees, like the employees of those businesses own them. And I don't know if that was in an effort to increase opportunities for those smaller companies that are owned by their own employees and give them readier access to city contracts. So I don't know, but there is that effort currently ongoing. But yeah, the Mayor's Office of Women-Owned Business would be the best place for you to get the MBE data. So this isn't really well understood, even within city government, that there are really two types of procurement. So there's regular procurement. If I'm buying a pen, or if I need to procure the services of a security company, then that all goes through the finance department. There's this whole other massive side of city procurement that is relatively unknown, and that's the public works projects side. So that's the large capital construction for the most part. That's the roads, the infrastructure, the buildings, doing the construction of them. And those also have a large component of minority goals set. So just as you reach out to finance for their data, you would also want to ask about data for those public works projects, because they will not be automatically included in any data that you get from finance for regular procurement.
And would like if you procure services for security or janitorial, like would those show up on the finance side, or would that be a part of like public works?
That would be the finance side. So the public works, really, those are just the large projects. DOT doing a project to replace lights in the whole neighborhood, or DPW installing solar panels to run the Back River water treatment plant. Those types of large public infrastructure projects are the ones that don't go through regular procurement.
Okay. So my next set of questions is really related to like partnering with the city. So with our score, we're looking at, the idea is that the more equitable companies or institutions we have, the more equitable our society will be. And so that means the city being an equitable entity, and then also as consumers of services, working with equitable companies. And so there's sort of two sides to that. And I know that like city council passed the resolution to have the agencies to make sure that they are really examining policies to ensure that, we're not contributing to inequitable outcomes. So every city agency is dealing with this, as well as like the city as a whole. And so I'm wondering, what would be a better approach to partnering with the city? Would it be an agency by agency approach, or something that's more of like working with City Hall to say, how does this look across all city agencies, within the agencies, as well as, the impact that the city has through purchasing power?
I would say that a good starting point, just for one, to get a sense of what agencies are actively actually following the letter of the law and tracking their data and reporting it annually, a good place to start would be, so what used to be the Mayor's Office of Civil Rights Office of Civil Rights and Wage Enforcement is now the Office of Equity and Civil Rights, OCRE. And they are, so equity has been like elevated in prominence, not just in title, but in their staffing, in their activities, in their goals, in their mission. And so they have a group of very passionate, very educated, just they are doing yeoman's work in trying to push equity within city government. So they would be a good place to start. And I'll be happy to make an introduction there if you want, if that helps open the door easier, if you're not familiar with anyone there. And then they would be able to tell you what agencies you should, and I'll just speak candidly, what agencies haven't really been doing anything. So don't waste your time going to them, asking them what their equity plan is and which ones actively have. So they would be a good place to start. Secondly, I would say is, so as you're very aware, the agencies now are required to report annually to City Council on their undertakings to do with equity. So that would be publicly available information as well. I believe it is August that we are supposed to submit it. So and it might be too soon for next August, but that would be another place where another repository of all, give you a sense of what agencies are doing what. But OCRE Angel would be the first place that I would start. I can tell you some agencies that I know of that are very active in this arena and have really gone quite a distance in setting up their assessment of the current practices and starting to think forward about how to act differently to no longer be the cause of structural racism and inequity. Are the Department of Public Works. Their head of equity there is, I forget her name, but she's so good that OCRE kind of pulled her over, and I believe she's the deputy there now, but she's wearing both hats and goes back and forth between OCRE and DPW and DOT. So DPW, DOT, we have one as well. It won't really, everything we do is so internal facing. We're supporting other agencies. We don't touch the public, that our program really won't be that monumental, but DPW DOT would be a good place to start to find out what they're doing.
Thank you. And then I guess my, maybe I would definitely like to get connected to the person from the Office of Equity and Civil Rights. And I think I could probably ask some of my other questions there. But I guess my last one then is, do you think there's a possibility, and what would the approach be to having something like our EIA score being used as a part of criteria in terms of city purchasing decisions?
I think it's a great idea. No, I think it's a great idea, and I don't know if you. I kind of chuckled a little bit when you were talking at one point, because I was wondering what it would mean even for city agencies to have to submit a public score about what we're doing and what that would look like. In addition to the data that we have to submit to City Council, how would that look if? So just really quickly, without taking up too much time for everyone else, but so you're thinking a score about what would we be scoring procurement-wise related to equity?
Yeah, so the idea is that the company would have a score. So let's say you were to purchase services, the company would have a score. The idea would be that they had to meet a certain minimum standard in order to to be a
or that they get extra scoring when their bid is being compared against other bids.
Mhm.
That would be another way to do it, Angel. So not that you get disqualified, but yeah, that you somehow your equity score counts, gives you an additional certain number of points in the the review and ranking of the solicitations.
It's a great
I think
idea.
Angel, I think that would be.
Idea.
And would that be the Office of Equity and Civil Rights conversation, or would that be within procurement, purchasing?
And I would, and I will introduce you to her. Lashella Miller is the acting chief of the EMBU office, Minority Business Office, and she has such a good grasp of the city charter that I think she would be a good place to start to talk to about how that could become enshrined in the city's procurement process.
That's excellent. Great questions, Angel. Thank you, Patrick. We're going to probably go until about 12:05, so let's just take another 5 minutes or so, since we started a little late. And Patrick's last up, certainly not the least. Patrick, any questions you might have, sir?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity. Yes, so I wanted to know, with our platform as a per with on-demand drivers, is there a opportunity for us to potentially partner with Baltimore City and providing drivers not just for necessarily just bus service, but commercial? Have a lot of talented drivers that enjoy driving. They're very good at what they do. And I heard you mention that you kind of manage the city's fleet abroad. Things like fire trucks, dump trucks, trucks in general all require a commercial license to drive.
That's quite all right. So just help me understand a little bit more about your model. I think yours was the one that I didn't really get to dig into. So, and I understand it's like a gig economy where you would have drivers ready to go. So do you have already, or is the thought that you would have this access to a bank of CDL of commercial licensed drivers that would be available for short-term or long-term? Really? Okay, then yes, the city needs you.
We are in the middle of I don't know if I would necessarily define it as a pivot, but our platform, what brought us to the dance was buses and just kind of loving that. But understanding, when you have the CDLB, you can drive anything that's not a combination tractor trailer. And it's like, well, if you have this, use it as much as you can. And knowing that the city does need drivers. And I think that the city's even exploring I've heard rumblings of like a micro transit project somewhere down the pipeline next year. How can we benefit the city in saying, okay, if you guys are going to launch micro transit, if you guys need trash trucks, if you guys, even when it snows this upcoming winter, drivers are hard to come by. And if we have guys you can just go to an app and get as many as you want, it's
absolutely
do that for you.
So I can't speak to the micro transit project. I'm not familiar with that. That would be a conversation probably with DOT. But I mean, if we all think back to earlier this summer when trash and recycling were put on hold because DPW just did not have the manpower, a lot of that missing manpower was those CDL drivers, in addition to the laborers, but a lot of them was the drivers to drive those big green load packers. The city relies on multiple temp agency contracts and access. I mean, whether it's in the IT field or administrative, and I cannot see a reason why we would not be knocking down any wall that we needed to be able to have access to essentially a pool of temp drivers. Knowing, like you're saying, in the winter we need to push the snow. If we get another round of God forbid, but another surge and our refuse collection drivers can't make it in, then knowing that we had your pool of people, You can hold me to this. I guarantee you there would be business. I don't see any. I really, knowing the need for CDL
Okay.
drivers, and that's not just in DPW. It's DOT, and given the nationwide shortage of CDL drivers, and given the challenges that the city has in recruiting and retaining, you're onto something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just speaking only at the city level, so I have to imagine the state would also be very interested in something like this as well. So I'm not sure what can I do for you?
I guess we'll probably have to, talk off the
Follow it
record.
up.
We like to drive for the city. We were,
Okay.
I guess hot and ready like Little Caesars. We're just looking for the, pathway to say how can we get our guys in city vehicles to be able to, to help Baltimore in any way we can.
Tangential, and you didn't go here, so I don't know why my mind did, but there is an organization whose mission is to reintegrate vets into civilian jobs when they get back. And when you think about a lot of those, I mean, like when we had bases in Iraq, a lot of the personnel that were needed were for logistics, just driving those trucks back and forth across the desert, moving supplies. And so there are very many military vets coming out with CDLs. And I wonder if partnering with an organization like that already has thousands of CDL drivers in their database and offering them this gig type work would be beneficial to you. And if it is, let me know and I can make that connection.
Of course, we would love the opportunity to work with military personnel or veterans, or definitely.
Wow. So, just kind of going around the room here, it looks like we got a lot of value out of this 1 hour conversation with you.
Got a lot of notes.
I mean, thank you so much for giving us your time. This is what it is about, right? Is face-to-face, meeting somebody, networking, being able to ask questions and provide you with answers that'll help guide these businesses through. And the cool thing that I was just listening was that everyone here has a purpose that's going to help our city, and in really important ways. And so it's wonderful, even though it's not like we're doing city contract work or just to have that relationship and establishing those. So, folks, this is a important strategic partnership that we've just established here this morning, right? So it's on you to follow up as she has requested. And I'll just everybody say thank you to Chi-Chi for her time today. We're going to stick around and let her go on about running the city. But thank you so much today, Chi-Chi, for your efforts.
And for everything you're doing. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Bye. Don't forget to vote
Take
if you
care.
haven't, and be safe.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
You got it.
Patrick,
Bye-bye.
that was for you.
Done.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
So next up, we have Belinda Mattingu, who is there. She is already coming right in. So I just thank you for. I saw you log in a little earlier, Belinda. So I appreciate you taking the time to sort of listen in on the conversation, get to hear our CEOs relative to what they're trying to do here. Just for everyone's information, so ETC is part of an economic development organization. That distinction is important because it means that certain services, like through Amazon Web Services, will provide promotional credits, tech advisors, cloud training, practice labs, a whole host of potential resources for free to you. And so we wanted to, since Belinda has, and I hope I didn't misspeak on the free, not all. I see you frowning your face. Excuse me for that. You'll correct me. But I just wanted to indicate that Belinda has been a good partner with ETC for some years now, and provided cloud services and training and technical support. to many of the other entrepreneurs through the ETC. I also just wanted to share with you all that Belinda is the woman who I shared the concern that was raised by you, Mohammed. You might recall some time back, we all sort of chimed in on that. Everyone had their own thoughts about it. We don't need to go into any detail here. You certainly can ask questions about it, but I just want you to know that Belinda is that person that has addressed it for us. And what we'll do is, even though the information sheets that I sent to you were not provided, what we agreed to do was let's give Belinda an ear and ask any questions you have. And if there is a relationship that we want to pursue or that you'd like to pursue, then we can obviously take it to the next level. So having said that, I've had the opportunity to meet Belinda and talk to her and her colleagues. There is one, I forget the gentleman's name, Belinda, that was looking to meet with Mohammed with Full Blast Steam.
Right.
It's,
Chris,
I think, in the
Chris Kraft,
education.
Chris Kraft.
Chris Kraft, right. So there's a lot that we can talk about today, but let's at least get started off by letting Belinda kick off the program, talk to you about that, and then any questions that might come up, we'll just take it from there. So thank you, Belinda, for being here.
Certainly. Thank you so much. And I have to start with a little disclaimer. I'm working on 2 monitors, and the monitor where I get to see you and your reactions is here. So that's why I keep looking up this way. But I know my camera, so that you can see me, is here. So I'm going to try to make sure that I'm doing a good job of presenting to you. However, every now and then I'll be checking to see if I'm landing correctly or if there's anything that is not very clear. And John, thank you so much for this opportunity. And let me just say that no, I wasn't frowning. I was probably just smiling to say, yes, you got it right. But then once again, trying to look this way.
Oh, I see. Sure.
So it might have come off differently than intended.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will also mention that my colleague, Hina Raval, there we go, right on time,
Hina.
just joined us. And so we'll do our own introductions as we, get into the program, into the presentation. But I wanted to start by first saying that, John summarized for me exactly what I was feeling as I was listening over this past hour about the different things that you all are doing. This is just so amazing, the work that you've taken on to make sure that Baltimore has the benefit of so many of these solutions that you're developing. And we're just very proud to be able to be a part of helping you to accomplish that. You're probably aware that Amazon has a presence in Baltimore, physically, in addition to the work that we do supporting the city and other companies in the area with the technology that is needed for delivering solutions. And so it's really inspiring to know that we're going to be able to also identify ways that we can support you in the great work that you're focused on through this cohort. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Certainly. So normally when I make a presentation, I do try to get a little bit more background on people and ask you to introduce, what you're trying to achieve. Since I've heard that now, we're just going to jump right into information to share with you about where we see opportunities to support the work that you're doing, helping you to bring those solutions more rapidly and at a scale that will impact, the lives of, thousands of people in the Baltimore area, hundreds of thousands of people in the Baltimore area, hopefully, because I'm sure you've got those objectives.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to share my screen, and I will have to ask you to forgive me if it's not showing as beautifully as I thought it would. Normally, I can show it in a presentation mode, but when I do, I lose sight. Actually, maybe that'll be better. I'll just apologize in advance that I won't be able to capture your expressions, because when I put this into presentation mode, it's now, covering both screens. So if you have anything to say, this is supposed to be interactive, so please just stop me, interject, but I'll have to listen to you interjecting instead of seeing you, raise your hand or anything.
Okay.
So to begin, let me start sharing my screen then. That's the problem. Okay, yeah, this is the problem. I have to share my screen first and then go into presentation mode. There we go. Are you able to see it?
Nope.
Okay, let's see.
We see you.
Yes, I'm learning, getting my hop-in skills.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
believe me, we're all very patient with. We've been through this every single week, so it's
Okay.
not an issue at all.
Okay.
At all.
There we go. Now can you see it?
Yes,
There
we
we go.
can.
Okay, cool. All right, great. So where did I go? Okay, excellent. Well, once again, I'm Belinda Matengu. I'm the business development manager for Amazon Web Services, and I specifically work in our public sector organization with governments at the state and local government level. I lead the program AWS Cloudstart, which is developed to work with economic development organizations, as John pointed out, to help them to stimulate more tech entrepreneurship in their communities, because people leveraging technology to grow a business can scale and have a greater impact on those businesses very rapidly. And my colleague Hina Raval, who's a solutions architect and has the great skills to help you with providing technical consultation for your businesses, will be joining me. She's on the screen there as well. So goodness, yeah. All right, there we go. So just as a start, one of the things that we let people know about what distinguishes Amazon Web Services, in my opinion, and Amazon overall, is that it's our mission to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. And with that, we mean that we really focus on what the needs of the customer are, and we work backwards from there to deliver technology solutions to enable the customers to achieve their mission, their goals. And that's why as we have a discussion with you, we will always start with your needs and work backwards. That's the process that we call it, where we begin by having that deeper understanding of what you're trying to accomplish, and then we are fortunate that we have many different services that have been developed over time by other customers who have caused us to innovate, to create more services to support them, and that's how we develop the solutions to meet your needs. We're very proud of the fact that our founder Jeff Bezos has established this philosophy, because he says that what allows us to continue to be an innovative company is the fact that our customers are always dissatisfied. Basically meaning that as soon as they are satisfied with one thing, we've done one thing well, then they'll say, but we'd like it better if you did this other thing too. And so that perpetuates the cycle by which we are continuing to develop new solutions. And we note the fact that 90% of the services that Amazon Web Services develops have been based upon customers coming to us and saying, hey, could we have this? Could we have that? Could you do this to help me to do my work more effectively? So similar to this, great session you just had with, Chi-Chi at the City of Baltimore, talking with her, in some instances as residents yourselves saying, hey, here's something that we need. Now she can participate in helping you to, provide those solutions to all citizens.
Belinda, can you move this slide?
So, yes.
So we're still on the first slide.
I beg your
Can
pardon?
you
Are you
yeah.
serious? Okay. Sorry, I'm seeing a very different slide. Let me see.
No.
There's another. Okay. Is anything moving now? Nope.
Nope.
Tell you what, I'm going to go off of this presentation mode and just go into a different, and so hopefully this will just, okay, so I see you're here. And
yeah, now we see your mouse, so I think you're
okay, now it's advancing. Okay, all right, I'll just keep it going.
Yeah.
There. And thank having
Also, if you want to go on just instead of having site, you put it on a presentation.
an example been able to do for our customers. Oh, and here I guess I have to move this so you can see it. Is shoot.
Is we're not hearing anything.
Her screen is frozen, so
Yeah, we'll just have to. Maybe we'll just reload and start over. But we have Hina.
Here. So I don't know what's going on.
Right. Well, you can take over.
Yeah, I don't know if I think she's probably dialing back in.
Mm-hmm. You want to take over for her?
Yeah,
No, she can hear us.
she just logged back in.
Okay, so
Here.
okay.
Let me see if I can share my screen.
Okay. All right. Looks like we've got your screen, Hina.
Yeah, let me just see presentation view. I want to see if it does not work. Let me know. Did that work?
It's blank now. We're just kind of waiting for something to come up.
Too big. I think.
You know, why don't we proceed without the slides then?
Yeah,
I'm
I
sure
think so. We can do that.
you can talk to us about. We're trying to understand the program and what it provides, and how we get engaged with you and things of that nature. So, I mean, we can see Jeff's picture if you want, but we can just talk.
We can do that. Let me see if Belinda wants to go. I can kind of. So you want me? Okay. So basically, let me just change that. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna set myself up correctly so we don't have this problem again.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
We've got time, so it's no worries.
I'm gonna talk it instead of a slideshow where you have a better experience. Just do that.
Good.
Just a second. Let me.
So Nancy, was Kareem able to join us today? Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about. I'm going to take it over from where Belinda was talking about our culture, and so our model has been, work backward from customer. and this model has worked in a multiple sectors that we. Oh, Belinda's coming back. Belinda, do you want to take it over, or do you want me to go?
Sure. Yeah, let me just finish up. How we're going to do this a little bit differently. Yes, we had presentation because it makes it easier for people to get an understanding of how cloud services work when we can use our graphics. So pardon us for that. What we'll do is, when we're having the individual tech consultations, if there's something that you have a specific question about in terms of how it works, we'll be able to dive into that at that time. I'm sure that I think it must be a bandwidth thing of sharing the screen. That's the reason that I was getting frozen.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is just move forward to say that we have an example of a cohort member who was able to pivot using our services when COVID-19 caused cities to start closing down, because he had a public safety solution that was going to help in schools and a lot of other public places. But once they were shut down, it made his service not as relevant to his customers. And what they said they needed at that time was something to help them understand what was going on with the virus. Where was it? Who had it? How were their employees being impacted? And that's what he was able to develop. And because he was using our cloud infrastructure, instead of having to go through a long cycle of getting hardware and developing a lot of solutions over time, he was able to, in literally the course of a weekend, pivot his business and then add in AWS services that enabled him to offer contact tracing and being able to track and report virus and get people tested who were suspecting that they might be at risk of the virus. So it's a really great story. When you get a chance to speak with Trevor, I'm sure he'll gladly share more details about it. But so that's just to give you the understanding of how cloud has enabled a business to grow and scale. He's now in multiple cities. He's saved he has benefited 15,000 people just since the beginning of the pandemic with being able to set up these services and offer them in this way. So moving on then to the to an explanation of what is cloud computing. What Hina will do is just really quickly explain, what is the cloud? A lot of people, have a different idea about what it is. And so we just try to make sure that people understand how it is set up to benefit your business. And then we'll go into how the benefits that you'll receive through our Cloudstart program, including the credits for services that John mentioned, and the technical consulting that Hina provides, and some other things to help you with promoting your business. So Hina?
Okay, thank you. So what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is on-demand delivery of compute resources. So usually you guys are familiar with servers and databases, and you heard of those, right? Those are usually you have to buy hardware in order to run those, and that used to be a very big bottleneck. So what cloud computing does is provides these resources in a pay-as-you-go model. So instead of buying it, you actually pay for what you use. And what it does, it's actually level field. It gives you plain level field. It gives you ability to start your business without having to deal with this large company infrastructure, right? So used to be the case where a small company could not compete with a big companies, and like playing a big shark pond, so to speak, as a small company.
So the other two that we've run have been about an hour.
Hey, someone's got
there's
an audio.
no hard
Could you
and
please
fast
mute?
limit up or down.
Okay.
I mute them. Is that okay? Okay, sorry about that. So cloud computing that helps you ability to have resources that you can use on a pay-as-you-go model. What it does is takes away the complexity of setting up environment and hardware and services just to get to the point where you can start doing what your business provides, right? So this gives you ability to focus on your business, then things that you need to start your business. So that's the whole difference between being able to do something on a cloud versus with doing on-prem. And on-premise is just, a lot of time you heard like people starting their companies in a garage, right? That model is gone for small businesses. What they need is to be able to uh, have these resources available to them so that they can start and putting their business, so to secret sauce into it to grow their business. So that's the whole premise of cloud computing. And going with that, so how does that help small businesses? So the core of the lot of the innovations and core of a lot of company getting ahead is the technology behind it. And anytime you have the technical background in terms of like having a technology that accelerate your business, you need ability to first of all, you need to have a low cost model, meaning that you will need to be able to put a small amount of capital to get started with the business. And that's where cloud computing helps, because what you're getting is ability to start your business with a very minimal investment. And the beauty of that is that not only that you're not investing upfront, but as your business grows, you can grow your infrastructure. So this is a zero upfront cost if you're not using anything. You can turn it on and turn it off as you need. So it's like a utility model. So you can control the cost. And on top of that, you have the same infrastructure available that's available to the top 100 company or top one company. I mean, you're running your stuff in terms of security, in terms of state of art databasing, state of art like services like AI, ML, right, IoTs, or that all that is available to you, even if you're just spending $50 a month versus thousands of dollars that large companies spend. So it basically gives you that same infrastructure that you could have got if you're a $1 billion enterprise or you're just starting out, today. And because of it, what it gives you is ability to experiment. And what it is a lot of times small businesses, we don't have and I've worked with a lot of small businesses, we don't have a real goal defined, we have an idea defined, but we don't know how to go from point A to point B, right? So you need to experiment different route, and ability to have that set up very quickly, try it out, fail at it, go to the next idea, then try it differently. That ability to do it with a minimal cost and minimal time is a game changer. So what cloud does is, let's say, for example, if you want to try one type of app, you developed it, you realize that database doesn't work. Now, if you had an on-prem environment, you spend money on a server, you're running it, and now you can't use it because it doesn't meet the requirement, you're wasting the money, right? So what it does is it takes that away. Now you can experiment very quickly, fail or succeed, doesn't matter. You have ability to get that done very quickly and make that and make that distinction in terms of what level your business needs to go to. Other thing is, and perfect example would be is that a lot of small companies, and including ourselves, we have, for example, we experiment with a mobile phone as an Amazon, right? We felt flunked at it, by the way. We got out of that market. But because we experiment, we learn new technology. And because we learned that technology, we realized instead of getting into mobile phone business market, voice technology was very important. And that's how Alexa and Echo Dot were born. So that is the same route that we took on a single product that a small company might take on their idea. So that's the whole point of being on a cloud, is to be able to experiment quickly. And the third thing I would say is going to the market. If you look at last 10 years of all the large companies, like you say, Facebook, idea of Facebook can be replicated, but you will not win because Facebook won the market share, right? Lyft can be replicated, but you wouldn't win because they have the market share. Why? Because they were first to the market. So time to market with your idea is very important, because a lot of these ideas are not proprietary in terms of, it's not like a very, very secret sauce, right? It's a good idea that needs to get done very quickly so that we become the first to the market, take the giant share of market share, and then that's what gives us success in a small business community, right? Or like a startups. So being able to get to that is very important. How do you get there? You concentrate on your idea, not on all the stuff that goes around it. So get rid of that burden, get rid of running the databases, get rid of setting up the systems, get rid of all that. Use the cloud resources so you can concentrate on your idea. And believe me, and the Lyft actually just did that. They started with a 3 server instances, and now they're a big company, and they did it that in a 1 year time frame because they did not invest on-prem where they have to set up things. Instead, they just went go ahead and use the resources and concentrated on what they were good at, which is trying to understand rideshare business. So that's what that and so other thing is what cloud does is allows you to start with a very little capital. So Harvard Business School did a survey in around 2006 time frame. If you wanted to be a tech startup, meaning let's say you want to be Lyft, you want to be Uber, we want to be any tech startup, you are looking at about $500,000 initial investment. That's to just get your platform. So you can now figure out how to do your idea, take your idea to actual to realization. Today, that cost has gone down to almost $5,000. Big difference. Something you can actually do it with your saved money and start a company versus you need an investor or bank or somebody to give you a loan to start up a company. Huge differentiators in terms of what ideas can go out in the field, and that's why there's that really makes a difference in terms of you have to be you look at it like all time. A lot of large companies have a lot of good ideas coming out of them because they can put $500,000 to try experiment something. A regular company that's starting in a garage cannot do that. So the startup suffer that imbalance. Not anymore. From the technology perspective, we level field it. So anybody can start their own business, be a technology business, and be able to do that within a very little amount of money. And to top that, and Melinda will talk about this, but Cloudstart, we take that $5,000 and give as a credit. So you actually start with a zero investment. And so that's the beauty of the ability to be part of this program. We understand you'll take about $5,000 to try out your idea, do proof of concept before you can take it to market and sell it for whatever, get the revenue going. So we bridge that gap between startup cost and your first revenue generating business, because in between it's a prototype. In between, you don't need a lot of clicks and a lot of storage and a lot of stuff. You just need your idea to be realized so you can go sell it, and then that's where you get your revenue. And then once your revenue goes up, growing business on cloud is very easy because it's a click away. You can actually scale your environment from one like an instant to 10,000 instant, just click up a button. So you're looking at maybe minutes to days worth of work versus used to be about 6 to 8 months worth of work in order to start and scale something. So now we've shrunk that as well. So that helps you to, again, not only start fast, start cheap, but also grow. If let's say your product got onto Oprah, you have seen situation where something gets onto Oprah and next day the whole site goes down. Heard of that, right? You don't have to suffer that if you're on a cloud because we can scale that up and we can auto scale it. So the event is happening, and small business has that up and down where they go and get like a marketing event and there is a big burst and then it kind of cools down, then get a second marketing event, big burst. You can't invest in infrastructure like that, right? You'll be too up and down. So cloud, you can start accommodate that event and automatically, without even clicking a button, automatically scale down so your bill don't go up. And then again, if something creates a burst, you automatically scales up. This can be completely automatically done, and that way you don't suffer the consequences of not having the infrastructure behind you. And the home safe first is what Belinda talked about, one of our client, and it's actually my client as well. I worked very closely with Trevor. What we did is be exactly that. His infrastructure was very tiny. He was on premise. We migrated to AWS, and it was about it's a contact service, I call it, but he might have a different name. But it's basically ability to contact a particular group for certain things, like police for certain event of accident or something like that. We took that technology and converted to COVID, where he can actually contact for COVID. So I can call Trevor's company and say, I think I'm feeling symptoms, and he will be able to connect to me to the right authority, like a hospital that I need to go to. He will warn the hospital up front that Hina's coming in for COVID related issue. They know, they take my information, so they have it up front. I mean, that whole business wasn't there in January. We created that, out of in a necessity, but that would not have happened if he had to go call for a server in a garage and set it up. And, you know what I mean? So think of it. What cloud can give you is flexibility, very cost-effective way to get into market that is big boys playing, I call it, or big companies are playing. Have a same level of security, services, ability in terms of what you want to do in any scale. You can do it at a one instant, or you can do it 10,000, or you can run a $10 billion company on the same platform. And
So let me just, sorry, sorry. So I just wanted to also check and see, so have any of the founders, on the call, have any of you had any of these issues that Hina was just discussing? Are any of you at that point in your development yet, or? Oh, Patrick, yes. And I'm sorry, did I hear someone else say?
No, Nancy said not yet.
Okay, still not yet in that development point. Okay,
Yes.
great.
Yes,
And
Full Blast
Yeah.
team is dealing with product development issues. Absolutely.
okay, thanks. It helps us to know where you are in the situation, in the process, because the reason that we wanted you to have this background to understand how cloud can help you is so that we can figure out where we need to focus the efforts that you would require. And Hina, if you will permit, I'll go ahead and just explain the different services and how it works in terms of being able to start with the Cloudstart credits, as you mentioned. So the point is that if you are having difficulty with the way that your infrastructure is set up, can I just ask, for those of you who are at that point, how are you? What's the infrastructure that you're using today? And this might be already a duplicate, because I know, John, you had a little profile that we asked if anyone would like to complete that helps us to have some background on the companies. Has that gone to everyone yet or not yet?
It's gone out. I think
Okay.
what folks are doing is listening to today's presentation, and then
Figuring
we'll
out what they
follow
need to
up
say.
with that.
Okay, cool.
We'll follow up with that with interest. And folks, just as a quick note, they're referring to Trevor. He was part of an earlier cohort. His company was Gun Bail. You may have remembered where they were trading in pistols in order to get people released. And that pivot is what they're talking about. Just FYI on that.
Thank you.
Please continue,
Yeah.
Belinda.
So, so Patrick and Naji, may I just understand, are you having challenges with, for example, not being able to accommodate the amount of demand that you're getting on your platform, or what are some of the challenges that you're having, just so that I can speak to how, in an example for your cohort, our Cloudstart benefits will assist you.
So for Full Blast, we're looking to build a new platform, a platform that integrates virtual learning with automated in-person, potentially robotic interaction. So the same type of software and hardware that you would have an automated warehouse running on, where you have sensors throughout the environment. So I'll leave it there. That type of platform is what we're going to build, capturing data, storing data online, big data. Yes.
Excellent.
Belinda, I think it's fair to say that NECA with Fight Blight, Angel with Full Blast, Angel with the Black Brain Trust, Nancy with Sankofa Network. Everyone here is looking to, and you might have even heard it during the earlier hour, looking to begin to grab data and run tests. That's where everyone is, right? And so some of these decisions right now, whether it is data, geospatial data, whether it's Google Earth data, whether it's data sets from the city or API calls. So all of us, I should say not even Patrick, including Patrick, every one of the 5 groups is a data play. And having that data in the cloud, how that's going to be manipulated, how they're going to be able to add different sets in, how those data sets talk to each other, how they're able to work across them. All of those are the kinds of things that are at stake here. What we've been doing is really focusing on revenue models, and that being sort of before pulling in data and running the test, make sure we had some clear ideas about revenue modeling. And so now we're in that process of building out the architecture and the beginning to really identify the data set. So from that perspective, I think as opposed to, what are the challenges or what are the bottlenecks now, if you were to start with, okay, here are the things that you should be thinking about when you start grabbing the data, when you start using the data and running the tests on it.
Awesome. Thank you very much, John. I appreciate that. So yeah, with that said, here's how we designed the Cloudstart program to support you in achieving those objectives and also addressing some of the challenges that might have been expressed. We first begin by having you complete a quick application at a link that we'll send you. It's really just so that we can capture your contact information, know the right person to connect with, and how we will be able to convey the promotional credits to you, because they come by way of email. So and we of course need to have an email that is affiliated with your organization. It comes from your domain. It's a business email as opposed to a personal email, because then we don't have the ability to say this, of course, lines up with this company. So just please use your official email as opposed to a personal when you complete that application link. And that will allow us to the first thing that'll happen is you'll get an automatic email sending you $500 of AWS service credits, which means that you've got the first tranche of the total of 5,000 service credits that we provide to each business in the cohort. That first set of credits you can use to get started on just beginning to understand how those services can apply to your business. And this is actually after we have what's called a free tier of services at AWS. And so when you register, and if you take advantage of the free tier, that actually lasts for 12 months. There's many services that are available at no charge, so you wouldn't use your credits towards those services. But for those that are not a part of the free tier, that's where you can apply your credits. And it let's see, that's something that Hina can help you with in terms of understanding, our pricing and where to find the pricing information. The second thing that happens is you would have a tech consultation with Hina and me. I join if I'm able to, but Hina is the really critical person to be a part of that discussion. And when she speaks with you about what you're trying to build, the solution you're trying to put together, and the types of data that you're trying to access. For example, it occurred when Nika, you were discussing, where's all the different data that the city might be able to provide, and then how can you add information that comes from citizens reporting things that are happening in the city. All of that could be put together in what we call a data lake, where it can be, information can come in from multiple sources and can be used by multiple different sources. So that's a way of being able to pick the data that you need. as you go forward. And Hina can explain to you the types of AWS services that you would add to your AWS account in order to have that capability. Let me also ask, how many of you have a person who is responsible for the technology for your business? I mean, Nika, you sound like you do this yourself. You are a technical founder, if I caught that correctly. Is that accurate? Yeah. Are there any people who have someone else that you're working with?
Yeah, Angel has Rob. Nancy has Kareem. Mohammed has a partner, Rob, as well. And Robert Patrick is, he's a self-taught sort of engineer and looking to add on staff, but he's very much self-taught. Has been doing this himself, and so yeah, you got two who are just really sort of technically sharp themselves, and the other three who are relying upon CTOs.
Great. So I would recommend that you have that technical person with you in that technical consultation with Hina. The profile form has space for you to put in dates and times that would be convenient for you, and then Hina will make sure she matches her schedule to support you in that. Now, the reason that we send the credits out in sort of waves are because they do expire, and we don't want them to run out before you've used those the services that would absorb all the credits. Essentially, the credits come out and they're valid for 6 months at a time. And with those first credits, those, depending upon how you're using our services, how much of the free tier you're using, can last several months. Or if they, last just a short period of time, then the next wave of credits is for $2,000 of AWS services. And as soon as those are getting close to being depleted, you can, get an additional $2,500 in AWS credits. For the typical startups that we've been working with in this program, those can last them basically a year as they are getting their service up and running. And if for some reason, it goes longer than that, we just try to make sure that we're keeping an eye, that we're providing the credits in a time frame that does not exceed the validity of the credits. So that's the reason they come out in waves. Now, when you are, building your service, this is to help you to get to your MVP, basically, at no cost for the infrastructure that it is required to do this. So another thing that we provide is information about how cloud services work, so you or your technical partner can, understand more about AWS services through either online training that's available or through having a deeper discussion with Hina, and so that gets you up to speed on how to use the services. There's also something called quick start guides. So if you're trying to do a basic type of solution, like to take certain information and report it out in a certain way, we've got ways that other customers have done that, and it's been tested. We know which services work to do it very effectively and present it in a way that is helpful for you. So that's another thing that we've got information about. We've got a set of quick start guides that you can go to understand how to get started quickly. As you grow your MVP and get customers, once again, starting to generate revenue, and based on the discussions that you all had with Chi-Chi, I can see, there's so much demand that hopefully pretty quickly the city of Baltimore will be your customer. But beyond that, we have other ways to help you to promote your solution to other customers in case you'd like to offer the same solution to, for example, other cities that would have the same need for transportation service support, being able to get drivers on demand, as it were. So we can do things like highlight that solution on our website, in our blog posts and social media, depending upon how compelling the solution is. And there's a lot of companies that are trying to get in that stream, so I can't promise that everyone gets in there, but that's the type of thing that we'll work with our colleagues to try to do to build awareness. Additionally, we work with a lot of people who are dealing with the city of Baltimore as a customer, as a client, and when they know that the city of Baltimore is having a difficulty with, their transportation services because of lack of access to drivers who've been impacted by COVID-19 and on short notice are not able to fulfill their runs or take, the truck along the garbage route, etc. By letting our colleagues internally know about your solution, that's a way that they can say, well, I'm having a conversation with the city about how we can address that challenge. Let's bring, the founder of that startup into the discussion as well. So those are the other
Gotcha.
ways in which we, help to amplify awareness of your solutions.
So, let me ask you if I could just kind of jump
Sure.
in. Because I know we still have a little time left and just wanted to open up for specific questions if unless of course there's more to present.
No.
Okay.
That was it. I just wanted to make sure that I was
okay. Excellent. So what I'd like to do is just to sort of level set on doing business with a giant, right? I mean, just for real. I mean, giants have this thing about offering, shiny objects for people and then, locking them into a relationship that they can't get out of, or having a one-sided relationship. Believe me, after dealing with IBM, I know this intimately, unfortunately. And so, not only with respect to the authenticity of the idea, sharing the idea, exposing challenges that we may have or that I had to potentially a competitor, because you're working all customers, not just ones in, supporting me. And so the concern that I had was just around that. Can you speak to us a little bit about how safe a small company is with Amazon, how some of the horror stories that are out there about small businesses being taken over, overrun, or ideas being taken. Can we just kind of address that right now and let that be the kickoff to this conversation?
Okay, certainly. I sent actually a link that I think says it best. It was the official response from our leadership around the example that was cited in a news article. And the short of it is that, we are a platform that many builders choose to build their businesses upon. Millions of businesses. Billions. And they feel comfortable doing that first because we take the privacy of your customer data very seriously. We make sure that we are not using that data in any way that you do not want us to use it. It belongs to you. We recognize that, and we support you in building your business, but keeping your data secure for your use only. So we're not, using that in ways that help to, grow our business. That's, something that's, it's not something that we do.
Is there a non-disclosure agreement that you have on your side, or that you'll sign on our side, or how does that piece work?
Yes, we have a non-disclosure agreement that we're happy to enter into with with you. I in fact, I was going to offer the fact that we have a special pilot project that we're beginning specifically to help technology companies building government solutions. And, because of some of the additional benefits that we're including in that program, we do ask for a non-disclosure agreement because we can't talk about it to the whole world, and we ask you not to if we give you the ability to participate in that that pilot. So So yes, but I will say that the majority of businesses that are working with us do not feel that they have to complete a non-disclosure agreement, because our terms and conditions of how we work with companies, how we handle their data, how we secure, through the shared security model of, we make sure that, what information you put into the console that is password protected, you have to be, of course, responsible with protecting that password and not giving it to someone who would access your account and then use that data in a way that you don't choose to. But we make sure that if it's on our servers and in our system, we're keeping it secure. That's our part of the shared responsibility model. So yes, we can. We'll sign a non-disclosure agreement specifically because of this pilot. But I'm just letting you know that if you choose to go forward with a different business with us, it's not a necessity that you have a non-disclosure agreement with us, but it's totally fine.
So with the,
And
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, please.
Actually, I'll defer. Angel or Nancy, does anyone have a specific question around this?
I was going to
or something
ask,
else?
well, two questions. One is it possible to see like those terms and conditions front so that we can like look those
Yes.
over and feel, just as comfortable? And then the second question is, is there like a I don't know if there's a price list or something relative to that, so that we have a sense of, you start out with like the free model, and then like when you get to a point of like you're growing and you have to actually start to pay, then we understand like, because by then our total environment is built on this platform and we wouldn't want to switch. So, we would like, to have a sense of like what that cost would be once there's a cost.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. And I just have to say it depends upon what services you use, which is why we can provide you with our pricing. And then after you've had your discussion with Hina, you'll have a sense of the types of services that you're likely to use. And that could be a way that you can estimate. We actually have what's called a pricing calculator. So based upon the services that you're using, the amount of usage you're expecting, the number of customers you expect to have, et cetera, it gives you an estimate of what that
Also,
pricing
just to
would be. Does that?
Angel, it's actually publicly available. So you can go on AWS.amazon.com and look for pricing, and you can see pricing for every single service we offer. It's out there for anybody to see. So it's nothing. It's not like the way, John, you might have worked with IBM. I was former IBM, or where we give you price. No, what we do? No, it's not that.
I don't even want to hear that horror story.
No,
I know.
no. So this is open to public. So for example, once we decide what environment you want to do, you can actually do the calculation of what makes it cheaper. Like, do I want to do serverless and managed service, or do I want to run my own instance? You can do the pricing calculator and figure out what your monthly going to be, and also how you're going to scale. So if you say 10 user using versus 1,000 user using it, you can project that out for yourself. So you know exactly what it's going to be.
So Hina, just to pick up on that, you raise a really good point. The challenge I found, and perhaps one or more of our cohort may find the same thing, I needed to have a technical exchange before I even understood how the pricing worked, right? So that I got to work, I have to build this sort of my own understanding of what it is I'm building, what it is I'll be needing, and then kind of understanding what kind of pricing arrangements would be best. And so we're kind of in that formulation stage. So let me ask it this way. Is it fair to say that this program, the Cloudstart program, is a series of building blocks, so that they'll have an opportunity to talk to you about the technical ideas they're having? You'll consult with them around what you're thinking, and then they can begin the process of bringing on individual pieces of what's available in the Cloudstart program. How does that onboarding work, and how do you get people comfortable with what they need to know, what they don't know?
Right. So let me give you an example. I have a customer right now I'm working with that is was running a. They were running on a cloud, but like a third party. So cloud through cloud
Mm-hmm.
provider, or service provider, and I brought them onto AWS, and they're doing POC right now, right? And they're going through that exercise where they're trying. First of all, they're using our credit to try out different options, and they
Yeah.
had four different choices to create a four different environment, and they
Mm.
each one of them has their positive and negative the way they want to run their business, but one of them was price, and we
Mhm.
are monitoring. Right, I just had a session with them and monitoring how they're using. Like they used one service that cost them $100, and they got scared because they like, I'm the only one user and it cost me $100. What if I have 10,000 users? That's just not acceptable, right? And we
Mhm.
looked at, and what was the situation was, it doesn't matter how many users he would have, he would have still paid $100. So
Wow.
if it's used by himself or used by 10,000 people, because he was running really, really hefty server, so he was paying
Mhm.
for the server instance. The compute instance was very big. And so what we do in onboarding is look at the, let's say if you already know what you need, in that their case, they knew they need a database, they want to have a search engine, so on. If you know what you need, we can look at different options and play them out, saying,
Okay.
okay, I'm going to onboard my application on AEC2 instance. If I want 10,000 people touching this application, then I will need big hefty instance, and I might need two of them or three of them. Okay, the cost is $300 a month. In his case, that would have been the case. He could run his whole business $300 a month,
Wow.
and that was
Mhm.
amazing. But when he was piloting it, but doing by himself, it was scary. To one
Yeah.
person, just $300 on a,
Yeah.
getting one query
Yeah.
out. We
Yeah.
we can work with you to work with your customer, with you guys to look at your model, look at your infrastructure, figure out what services you need, look at the cost of it, and look at the optimize the cost. We do optimization. There's a once we
Excellent.
join, we will do we call it WAR, which is a our architectural. We go through the well-defined architecture,
Well architected review.
and then we
Oh,
do
excellent.
and then we do well
Yeah.
architecture review, so that this is what
Excellent.
the operational excellency, but also cost optimization happens. So we want to make sure
Excellent.
Yeah.
you want to make sure you chose the right thing. You're not running a big server for small thing, or you're not using too much storage where you don't need it. So we optimize all that, and that. Let's put it this way:
Yeah.
most of the company model is different. AWS model is very different. We're actually we are business running on the business too. I mean, Amazon runs on AWS, so we are cost conscious. We have lowered our prices 73 times since the inception. So we know that
Nice.
we have never, and Jeff Bezos will say that we never had a customer come out saying you're charging us too little. Please charge us more. Never happened. All the requirement we never got that requirement, right? So we understand the customers are looking to lower the cost, not go up. So
Sure.
we will work with you on cost optimization
Thank
during the
you.
review.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really work towards being a transparent company. I know we're a little bit over, and so I just am trying to be sensitive to that, to say that we're happy to provide as much information as possible to help someone to be comfortable. If you're feeling that you want to find out what it might cost, even before the opportunity to connect with Tina and have a more detailed discussion,
Mhm.
that's where the quick start guides that are online, and I'll send the link to that as well,
Mhm.
allows you to understand how if you are doing this type of a solution that requires these types of features of a service, these are the types of AWS services that will enable you to do that. I heard lots of information about, basically machine learning, artificial intelligence types of applications. We offer a lot of that.
Yep.
We do a lot of data analytics. We do a lot of, making sure that we can, do predictive analytics. So all of those types of services, we have actually a place on our website where they're organized into those different types of features. So
Mhm.
if you don't see all the services you're looking for in a quick start guide, you could go in, find the other services, and all of that, if you put into the price calculator, which is also available online, it allows you to get an estimate yourself. And the reason that we have a program like this, given that we put all this information out online to make it easy for people to find, someone who's already technical savvy, can go in, probably figure it out all themselves. But if there's a founder who's really working to build a business and make meetings with government officials at the city of Baltimore, for example, then by us connecting you with Hina and these other resources, our expectation is that it allows you to move more quickly with building your business instead of having such a long learning curve. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to, help you accelerate your ability to have a viable business model that allows you to, meet your customers' needs, deliver to the mission. So,
just to close this out, I got to say that, and it's just anecdotal, but I certainly understand the fear of entering into a business relationship with an IBM, an Amazon, just because of the size element. And it was a kind of a leap of faith. One thing for sure, folks, is that I've not come across a company that has provided this many services at the inception level and really care about startups. And the other thing that's unique about this is that it's not available to everybody. This is available to economic development organizations, it's specific designation. And that's what you are. You are economic development companies through an economic development organization on behalf of the Baltimore Development Corporation. And so it is not what all other small business startups get access to. This is my own personal experience. I absolutely understand fear and the concern about exposure. You can have your lawyers and we can have Miles and Stockbridge and anyone else you want to look at it, but this is kind of a unique opportunity. So I would encourage each one of you to reach out to Belinda and Hina and just start the process of learning and develop your level of trust at your own speed and your own time. But this is quite an opportunity with the kind of free services that are available. And that's why we wanted to make time available in the schedule today so that you could hear this from them and not from me. So thank you very much, Belinda and Hina, for putting up with our technical issues with Hopin and all of that. Whether or not we ever use Hopin again, I don't know, but we're married to it now. So we're going to finish this out. Thank you so much, Hina, for the overview of cloud, the uses of cloud. It was very clear and helpful. We have on average about 30 CEOs attending these classes. This cohort of 5 gets access to this opportunity. Unfortunately, only not everyone else, but you do. So we'll just take it from here and we'll go from there. We'll see how things shake out, and I leave it to you each to follow up specifically with AWS folks. Okay?
Thank you, Hina.
Thank you, Hina.
Certainly. And John, is that will you be, because I don't know that I have any email addresses to send information directly. Do I send it to you and you're going to share it, or are you going to make introductions?
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll send a blast out to you and Hina with all 5 teams on it, and then you can just kind of go from there.
Okay. We'll reply to all.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Excellent.
Exactly.
Thank you all. Wish you great success with what you're doing. Really amazing work.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Everybody sit tight for a second. Thanks, Belinda. We'll see you soon.